And we are live. Welcome to the big broadcast with Unc and Phew. You know what I'm saying? Unc football and big stuff with the nephew, man. How was your week, Unc? How you doing, man? Let's talk to the people, man. Let's talk to the people. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right, man. But I had a busy old week for sure at work. So yeah, my body's aching. I'm just like relaxing, chillaxing, ready to enjoy some football this weekend to recover.
I'm telling you, man. I'm literally drinking some tea right now because my throat is killing me. But let me
Mm,
tell you something, man. I'm committed to this pod. I'm committed to football, and we're making it
yeah,
happen. I'm so happy I can actually talk to you today. But we got to talk about the biggest topic in football right now, and it's not even football, bro. Taylor Swift and Travis
yeah.
Kelce. Me, I'm telling you right now, my thoughts. I think this is all a plot. This is like some kind of album rollout. I'm a conspiracy guy. It's how I think. But Unc, what do you think of literally Taylor Swift was the banner for
Yeah.
NFL's Twitter page? I'm like, what? Like she's the most important thing in football? Talk to us, Unc.
The ironies and the humiliation that NFL fans, NFL dads all over the country are going through right now is just phenomenal, right? Because as NFL fans, we all think that it's a pretty big deal,
Yeah.
But when we think of like who's a star, Travis Kelce sure is, right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, according to Twitter X, whatever,
Yeah.
according to Taylor Swift Twitter, the NFL has been blessed and is just fortunate to have Taylor Swift hanging around,
Yeah.
and she's going to make Travis Kelce a star. Apparently,
You know what? I actually agree. Did you hear that thing where it said his jersey sales went up 400%?
it's ridiculous. I mean, like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I saw all those metrics that shows his like his Instagram, his social media, his number sales. Yeah, all of that stuff is through the roof. Thanks to a bunch of Swifties. God love them.
Yeah.
But
And
for
you
NFL
know,
fans, for all of us to sit here and think that, okay, well, great, Travis has got a hot girlfriend. Hey, yay, Travis, right? But apparently, we as NFL fans do not understand exactly what a big deal this is for Travis Kelce in the NFL, not the other way around. but but
oh,
But the way that the broadcasters were carrying on during the broadcast, I happened to just tune in when that moment came. My
mhm.
goodness, they were all starstruck. So, I mean, I think there might be some truth to that, right? They were all incredibly starstruck. It was really quite hilarious. As,
Yeah.
as to whether or not, like, this is a setup or, both of them are doing this for strategic reasons for both of their careers, etc. I doubt it. I mean,
It's
some
you know that
at some level, these people put their pants on the same as you and me. They're
right.
human beings. They're seeking companionship and stuff. But on the other hand, too, they're both incredibly famous people who have to do things a certain way. The funny
Mhm.
story I heard about that is that they went to dinner afterwards,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
being money bags that they are, the both of them, they went in and paid every patron in there something like $1,000 to split because
Oh.
they didn't have it booked in advance, and they just said, "Here we go. We're going to pay for all your dinners and give you $1,000 if you guys just get the heck out of here." Right? so that they could have the restaurant themselves, right? I mean,
Wow.
Elvis used to do the same thing with the movies. Uh, he could
Mm.
just buy out the theater, but he did it in advance. But I mean, yeah, famous people do that type of thing, right? But I just think that's amusing. It's like, we'd like to be alone. Like, no, really alone. Because that's the reality of their life, right? Unless they are
Yeah.
literally alone within four walls, they're not alone. So,
Brother, it is
yeah,
kind of sad if you really think about it because you never get real privacy. Because me, I like privacy. I like my downtime. And the thing is, this is potentially huge for the NFL because Taylor Swift is a major star, and the NFL actually is trying to market more to women and
yeah,
girls.
oh, sure.
So this is amazing timing and marketing in order for them to, grow as a brand, as a business. Because let's be real, it's a sport, it's also a business. You know what I
And,
mean?
Everybody get ready for the new version of Are You Ready for Some Football?
Straight up.
She's gonna
Straight
put
up.
that other girl out of work.
Go put like Carrie Underwood or whatever her name is. She putting them on.
Yeah, it's Carrie Underwood, which is a shame. I love the way she does that song.
It's really good. The Sunday Night Football song, man. But I will say this: besides Taylor Swift, they were whooping on the Bears, man. Let's talk about the game. The Bears got
Everything.
spanked, man.
The Bears got everything that we all knew was coming to them.
Oh yeah.
Casey looks pretty unbeatable right now. Actually, Casey's looking real good. They're not sort of coasting in the first quarter of the season like I've accused them of doing in the past. So yeah, their defense looks on. Their defense looks on point coming out of the gate, so that's huge. And Chicago just looks miserable on offense. So what are you going to do?
Man, we talked about Justin Fields last week, right? And we were just remarking how he's actually a good player. He's a good quarterback. We said the system looks bad. And here's where it gets even more concerning. Fields was on, not Fields, sorry. Chase Claypool was being interviewed in the locker room, right? And one of the reporters straight up asked him, do you think that they're using you right? Meaning, do they think that he's being used right in their offensive system?
Yeah,
and you know how most players would probably say, "Yeah, I have confidence," blah blah blah.
No, yeah.
Chase just straight up said no. I'm not being used properly. He straight up said no. So you have the locker room in dissent, man. You know what I mean? In Chicago, and then you have Taylor Swift right there watching the beatdown.
Taylor Swift is watching you implode.
Exactly, man.
Yeah, the Bears look like they're in trouble right now, and anytime that you have players speaking out like that against the coaching staff, that's never a good sign. It means there's an absence of leadership from the coaches, right? Showing any real respect towards them. So all of that starts up top. Anyhow, Claypool saying something like that, that's a sign of a locker room in disarray. And and there's an absence of leadership. Because if there's if you've got good leadership in place, no one really feels any need or any real permission to speak anything other than the positive. And we all know what the positive is. We've spoken about this before, about how the modern game and the modern players, they're all coached up on how to handle the media and whatnot. So that was
that's what really shocked me, that you're media trained, right? You should kind of keep it hush hush, especially what happened with Fields last week. But let me tell you this: as bad as the Bears are, they're not as bad as Denver, dog. Oh my God. They're not as bad as Denver. And we're going to have the great, I won't say pleasure, we're going to have the great discomfort of watching the Bears versus the Broncos this weekend.
The tank ball.
The tank, the basically the game to determine who gets Caleb Williams or something like that next year's draft. But what did you think of that total annihilation? 70 to, I think they scored 21, or I don't even know how much
20.
they scored. 20?
It was 70 to 20.
Oh my God.
It was that. I mean, Miami just dominated in all team metrics, right? They had 726 total yards. Right? So they basically scored a point for every 10 yards of offense. So, yeah. And the ironic thing is that Russell Wilson, if you just compared the box score of Russell Wilson versus Tagovailoa, they're not even that different.
No.
But the big landslide was in the rushing totals.
Yes.
Mostert got the Mostert. Let me tell you, man, that guy ran for about like 250 yards, something like that. 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, and even a guy we've all never heard of, this a Cheney guy.
Yes, Devontae Arcano.
204 yards himself, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, just Miami dominated in every aspect of the game from the time of possession, as you would imagine. So yeah, like the defense in Denver is a serious problem. That's just not working, whatever it is they're doing out there. Because I mean, Denver, for whatever you want to say, right? They still managed to score 20 points. They might have still lost in a normal game, right? 24-20 or something like that, or won
Mm,
2017. I mean, so it's not like Russell Wilson didn't operate the offense. He did,
mm.
mediocre, but whatever he did. Just that tags, Tyreek Hill, Mostert. I mean, man, there is some offense in Miami when Tags is having a good day. Like,
Man, I'm telling
holy
you, this guy,
cow.
Tua, tags, whatever you want to call him, he is on fire. And we talked about this with our first episode of season 2. We talked about Miami, man.
Yeah,
We
last
talked
year.
about it. We called them, and we even talked. Yeah, we did talk about them last year too.
Yeah, we did.
This coach, Mike McDaniels, is scheming up an amazing offensive powerhouse. The defense doesn't even really touch the field that much, or because their offense is going to score a bunch of touchdowns. That leaves the defense, which has some good players actually, to kind of chill out. They don't have a lot of pressure. And for me, I wasn't really a big football fan, but around this time I was a young kid. But what do you think of them being compared to the Rams in the early 2000s, the greatest show on turf? Do you think it's an accurate comparison or no? Or what do you think about that comparison? I've been
Well, I think they had a great game, and it's not the first time they've shown that type of nuclear offense. That's why we were talking about them early in the season last year, is because they had a game like that. I forget against who, but they scored like 45 points or whatever. And Tagovailoa threw for like 440 yards or some kind of crazy. So it was a big game, and then he got injured. Remember that?
oh, yeah, I remember.
Right. So that was kind of delayed again until the very end of the year. He was feeling better and we could start to see it again. But
Mhm.
yes, this McDaniels guy, youthful looking fella, looks like the guy from that actor from The League. I forget his name now, but it was an FX series that was on about 10 years ago about fantasy football.
Yes.
Really really funny show. And this guy's a spitting image, a doppelganger of this actor. I forget his name now, but anyways, yeah. So it's always hard for me to take him seriously when I look at him. He looks like he should be getting coffee or something like that. But this guy is scheming up some serious football. Right?
Making
So
amazing play designs. Everyone is in space. Tyreek Hill is
yeah,
in space. Mostert is in space, and especially letting Tua have space and have receivers who are incredibly fast. Man, these people are fast and
yeah,
they're explosive,
yeah.
explosive all over the field. And the designs, the motions. I'm like, whoa, the trickery. I'm like,
Well,
goddamn. You know what I
they,
mean?
they've managed to not miss a beat with Waddle going down. Um,
Yeah.
so they've got a whole host of offensive tools. The question for Miami as the season progresses will be whether their defense can continue to play consistently,
Yep.
and of course whether they can stay injury free. But the way it's looking right now, Miami has all the looks of someone that can spot your 30 points and still win.
Man, I'm telling you something. The other team has to come incredibly aggressive because you'll need 30 points to beat this team minimum. Minimum. Like that's the floor. The floor is 30 points.
That's what I said. They can spot you 30 points, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, they're gonna play the Buffalo Bills, which is a potential playoff game, and huge implications
Oh,
as we
big
go throughout the season. It's gonna be a big time game. I
game.
personally think that's the game of the week. I don't
Yeah,
see a way how this game would not be the game of the week, but we'll get to that when we're talking about lines and spreads.
yeah. That should
But
definitely be up there.
oh yeah, one thing I really want to talk about two shocks of the week though. But let's start off with one because I don't want to start off this podcast pissed because we're going to talk about the second one, which is going to piss me off. You know what I mean? But the first shocker, dog, Joshua Dobbs and the
Mm,
Cards. Actually, not even Joshua Dobbs, James Conner and the Cards destroying Dallas. And let me tell you something. if you really look at the score, it was like 34 to like 20 something. It wasn't that close.
No,
Cardinals
it was
dominated them.
20. I think it was 28-16, something like that.
Yeah,
But it was two
I'll
touchdowns.
check right now. What did you think? What did you
What
think
did
of the
you think?
game? I'll check it out right now.
Well, every time I watched, I didn't watch the entire game. When I watched
Yeah.
the highlights and the red zone stuff, I was like going, what on earth is going on? Mostly with Dallas. I'm
It was
saying, like, what's
28.
the.
Just a point of clarification, it was 28-16. Cardinals
Okay,
won
it
28.
was
So it wasn't a
28-16.
high scoring, but it was it's 28. But I don't think it was even that close. Arizona dominated the whole game.
No, it was not close.
No, it wasn't.
Arizona went out, and I don't. There was no point in the game where Arizona was not in front, right?
Yeah,
So they
were leading the whole game.
they led from the front, and they never really let up. And from what I could see, it was James Conner who was really looking like he was back. Right.
Yes.
Last year, a lot of fantasy players had a hard time with James Conner because, so much was expected of him, but he was coming back off like an ACL surgery or whatever it was, which we all know can be extended, over a year in your recovery time, even though some people beat the clock.
Yes.
But James Conner, it's really been a good 18 months since you've seen James Conner as you remember him. And my goodness, does he ever look like he's back? He is. He's getting passes out of the backfield. He's rushing. He's rushing up the middle, off to the side, any which way. He's just looking very quick, very elusive, and very powerful. That helps a lot. Because yes, Dobbs did not dominate the game at all. If you look at the stats, they're very meager. In fact, the word I have to describe that Cards effort was efficiency, maximum efficiency. Dobbs was, I think, 7. Dobbs was 17 for 21 for less than 200 yards, one touchdown, had a pick. But other than that, just perfectly clean sheet. The Cards also were way more efficient on their yards per play by 2 yards, 7.5 yards per play. 7.5 yards per play. And just for measure, for comparison, even in that beatdown, that 70-20 beatdown, Miami was getting 10 yards a play, which is outstanding, right? 7.5. 7.5 is very good, but it's it's just a little bit above average. But what you need to take away from all that is
here's like you just said. I'm sharing the screen. Can you see me? Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Just checking. Hello? Perfect. Perfect. I just wanted to show it. Yep, you're exactly right. You're looking at Jobs on 17 for 20 through 21. Not that many yards, enough yards, but James Conner, look at his stat line. 14 carries for 98 yards, touchdown. The man was balling out. And then you have Joshua Dobbs who helped in the run game. That's what it's all about. That's how you beat Dallas. And if you look at the Dallas side, that pick at the end, it didn't help. Pollard had a game, but if you
in the red zone, that was the worst pick I saw.
That good for Dallas, man.
The remarkable stat is the time of possession. Look at how much less time. Look at how much less time the Cards had the ball. They had 20. They had 20 fewer plays than Dallas. So that was an exercise in efficiency.
Yes.
Yeah, they really did. They really did.
And I'm telling you.
And it's not the effort out of the Cardinals that we expected to see. We were all making the jokes about them being in the tank. But you tell me, man, you look at the last 2 weeks' efforts by the Cardinals, and there's no way you can even entertain jokes like that anymore. I mean, that was sick what they did to Dallas. And the thing is, this is the next thing too that was mystifying to me is how the Arizona O-line manhandled that vaunted Dallas defense. That's what blew every replay, every highlight replay I'm looking at. All I'm seeing is this whole rugby scrum of red pushing open holes like a bulldozer for James Conner.
Yes.
Isn't this supposed to be the other way around? Right? Didn't happen.
It happens because you know what it is. I think I don't know what's going on, but they're buying in. I think the Cardinals are buying in, and
To
that
their
collapse.
underdog status. They're buying into their underdog status. We're a bunch
Yes,
of
they are.
losers who are tanking. Oh yeah, watch this.
They're having some pride in how they're playing. And when you
Exactly.
look at great O line play and you look at great work play in the trenches, it's a lot of effort, really. You know what I mean? Because the talent gap is not huge in the
Yeah,
NFL.
very
There's
true. Very true.
most players, if you're able to make it to the top 1% of the 1%, you are an amazing athlete, period. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, there's even a higher level 1%. You have your Micah Parsons, your TJ Watts. You have on the O line side your Trent Williams, your Nelson something I forgot, the one on the Colts. You have
yeah,
some
yeah.
guys who are just at a crazy level. But the difference is the effort. And
Hmm.
Arizona was playing with some fire, with some
Yeah,
effort, and that made the difference.
yeah,
And Dallas played almost like they were front runners. I think the loss of Trayvon Diggs is gonna show up later, not just in this game, but in other games, because you don't have to worry so much about the back end because you have one of the best corners in football. So when he went down with that ACL, I was like, damn, I think this might
yeah.
bite Dallas. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, what do you think of that injury? Hmm.
Well, I think that's very unfortunate, and it's par for the course in the NFL, of course, on any given Sunday.
True.
My big takeaway from the Dallas D was how little Mika Parsons showed up on the sheet. He only had 2 tackles and I think 3 assists.
Yeah.
And even though Dallas did get a few sacks, they just Mika Parsons did not dominate. In fact, his first sort of big play of the game occurred, like I think it was in the fourth quarter. The
Yeah.
announcer was even saying, "Oh, well, there's Mika Parsons. His first real impact on the game today." So anyhow, your offensive line is keeping Mika
Yeah.
Parsons in check. Wow, you're doing a good job.
And then you think about it like this, that as much as I'm a fan of Parsons, the man unfortunately has not showed up in any playoff games, right? There's been this ongoing stat about him that he's only had one sack, or even it was a half a sack in the I think 3 playoff games that he's played. So
Really,
what's been happening is there's ways to stop star players like that. Yeah, yeah. There's ways to stop them or maybe slow them down. But I
getting rid
think
of the
you're right.
football
It
quickly
starts with the
helps,
trenches. It starts with the line.
and a quick
Yes,
release with the
that
quarterback.
was slinging it though.
I'm telling you,
Yep,
man.
yep. Dobbs was slinging it. He was slinging
He
it.
had
I'm like, Dobbs, what? Dobbs is a
his connection with Hollywood
guy.
Brown is real.
It
And
was real. Yep.
yeah, and what's the other guy? Rondale White, I think it is. 45
I
yards.
think his name, yeah, Michael Wilson, and then there's also Rondell Moore. But
Rondale
yeah,
Moore.
yeah,
Rondale
yeah,
Moore.
Rondell Moore. They have
Right.
pretty good connection. 4
They
receptions.
had him. They had him in a Debo role where they were isolating him in space,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
even gave him a handoff that he took 45 yards to the house. Right.
yeah. And
So
he had 3 carries for 54 yards. They're using him as a wide back, wide
yeah,
receiver, running back.
and Dobbs had 55 yards rushing of his own.
Yes,
Right.
he did.
So yeah, how's the Arizona Cardinals on less than 30 less than 25 runs, I think they in total running plays
Oh
rack up
yeah.
rack up like 150 almost 200 yards rushing. I mean shit.
Let
That's
me
pretty
tell
good.
you, this is a story we have to keep going throughout this season. The Arizona Cardinals,
Cardinals
without
watch
Kyler Murray, Cardinal, we call it a signal. Cardinal watch. We watching the birds. But
originally
one,
titled Death March. It's now Cardinals watch.
I guess, yeah, facts. I'm cool with it. Well,
Yeah,
one
me
bird
too.
I
I love
really,
the surprise.
yeah, one bird I'm not really happy about is the Raven bird.
Yeah, yeah, no, but I told all our podcast watchers, bet on this game. I had a feeling
Yeah.
that wasn't going to go the way Baltimore wanted it.
Unc is right. He talked about it. If you guys watched last week's podcast, he said there's some action on this, and that dude Unc is 100% right.
Don't say
Oh, my Ravens, we lost in overtime to the Gardner Minshew-led Indianapolis Colts. I am so embarrassed. Let me just say this. Let me just
at
say this.
home.
At home at M&T Bank Stadium. Let me start off by saying this, man. We
Yeah,
have a lot of injuries. We have a
you
lot of
just said
injuries.
it
The
right
Ravens.
there. Oh, that's it. It's really all there
You
is
know,
to say.
that's all I have to say. Injuries and inconsistent play. And we're talking about Odell wasn't in this game.
Yeah,
Rashad Bateman kind of left the game because of injury. Obviously, Marlon Humphreys on the defense is gone. J.K. Dobbins, who was supposed to be the guy this season in a contract year, gone. Gus Edwards left with a concussion around the second half of the
yeah,
game.
that's right.
So then we had to obviously rely on Lamar, you know, running the run game again, and it was just it felt like a playoff game where
It looked like it.
two talented teams are fighting it out to the very
Yep.
end, and
And it was
the thing's
very,
coming back to bite us in the ass, fam. And I hate it, but I will salute the Colts for being resilient and having a very strong defense.
yeah.
What were your thoughts about this shocker? I think that this and the Cowboys loss, I think those are the two biggest shockers of the week.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I did
Mm.
not expect Baltimore to lose that game. As much as I said that I thought Indy might cover, I thought the spread was a bit rich. I did
Yeah,
not have
yeah,
any illusions about Indianapolis winning that game. I did not expect them to win that game. They have played better this year than I think a lot of people thought they would. I think a lot of people thought that that rookie quarterback was not going to work out well.
yeah.
In fact, he's done quite well. And yeah, and Pittman has had a solid year so far. So
Mm.
anyway, but if you look at that stat sheet, it was just these two teams went at it, button heads quarter after quarter, right on
Oh
through. It was
yeah.
a very evenly matched game, highly entertaining. Wasn't as high scoring as I'm sure some fans in the NFL would like, but I don't really care. I'm a purist, man. As far as I was concerned, that was old school AFC football. I thought it was a tribute to the game
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
that Indianapolis could come in as
It
road
was a
dogs.
very good. It was a very good.
They could
It
come in
was a
as
very
road dogs.
complete football game. You had running.
Yeah,
Yup, yup.
yeah,
Indianapolis can come in and do some damage. I'm
as
looking at
a
the
road
sideline right
dog
now.
and walk away with
Game
the W
and
as a road dog. Yeah, that was a very impressive performance by Indianapolis.
yes, and they had no quit in them. I'll give them that. They ran the ball down our throats with Zach Moss.
Yeah,
Trey Sermon
Moss
did
had a
his
big
thing a little
game.
bit. Pittman was really the shocker here because Pittman, he's crazy. 30 rushes for 122 yards. You don't even see 30 carries
I
given the
know.
backs, but they just kept
Yeah,
feeding the boy, and he ran
Zach
the
Moss,
ball down.
Zach
And
Moss, bell cow.
Lamar had a Lamar game. He went crazy, but I'm like, he wasn't enough. Yeah. Zach Moss
Yeah,
is a bell cow now. Yeah.
well, he
And
was in that
this
game.
song will say this. I'll say this. I'd rather see this loss early as a Ravens fan. What pardon me? What'd you say?
No, I just said he was a
Yes.
bell cow in that particular game. Anybody getting 30 carries, I mean, you got to call him that. And he got also like about 80% of the all the yards. So I mean, Zach Moss had a very impressive game, and
Oh yeah. Oh
Pittman
yeah.
had close to 100 yards. So I mean, those two guys did particularly well.
Hmm.
But beyond that, it was a pretty pedestrian performance by just about everybody. But that wasn't the bigger picture. The bigger picture was a defensive
Yes.
battle where points were a bit scarce, and you had to be a true fan of the game to sit down and watch all four quarters of that game. But it was highly entertaining. It was worth your time and trouble.
I really like the game. Obviously, I'm an emotional Ravens fan. I was pissed about the results.
Yeah,
And we
sure.
got a rare sighting. We got a rare sighting of a Justin Tucker missed field goal. Did you see that around the end of the game or at the end of regulation? It was 60 yards, I'll be honest, but he's hit those before and he missed it. And I was shocked. I was like, bro, we're going to overtime. But here's my thing. If the Ravens lose early, I think this could be a blessing in disguise as to going into future games. We have a game against the Cleveland Browns, who that's another team that's surprised me. Cleveland Browns are
Yeah,
looking amazing.
yeah. You guys better
But
be paying
that's
attention that week.
yeah. I personally think that's gonna be a great game. So, you know me, I'm gonna cheer for my guys, but that had me pissed. The Colts are a team that might come out and cause some damage. But you know what? We got to talk about some real damage, and I got to talk my shit. I beat you in fantasy this week, man.
My team is underperforming. It's so funny.
What happened, man?
All the guys. I don't know.
Yeah,
But it's so weird, man. Yeah, every week, man. Every week the AI has me like as like one of the best teams out there, right? And it
you have
does
a
not
good point.
happen. Like, oh my god, Trevor Lawrence is hurting me right now because they've
Yeah.
him and Ridley. I mean, I have them double down like that. I got them stacked. But if
Mhm.
Ridley and Lawrence aren't performing, I'm struggling. Right, that's 2/5 of my most valuable players. Right, so yeah,
True.
yeah. So I'm not gonna make any excuses. I'm just telling you what happened. It's all right. I'll see your narrow ass down the road.
We're
Hmm.
gonna see each other down the road for sure. For
Yeah,
sure. It's almost
it,
like a yearly thing. Every playoff we face each other. It's
yeah,
happening.
yeah. That's very true. Although I'm up against it, man. I need to put it. I need to string 2 or 3 victories in a row together. Otherwise, I may not see that Final Four because that league's unique, huh? Only
The
4 people
league.
make it. Only 4 teams out of 14 going to
I
that playoff
know.
this year.
It's gonna be quite interesting to see how it goes. But we got to talk about some starts and sits, man. And let me tell you something, man. My start that I really think was great. Well, obviously we talked about him. Mostert,
Hmm.
Raheem Mostert. He actually helped me win the game against you. He gave me 44
No
points.
doubt.
Gave me like 44 points. Insane. So what
Mm,
I
yeah,
say for
I
me,
was there.
hey, the nephew has to win sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Nephew has to win sometimes.
Every dog gets a warm piece of the sidewalk
You know what I
sometime.
mean? You know what I mean? I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that, bro. I'm gonna need that.
I
But how
feel you,
about
buddy.
you?
I feel you, buddy. I
How
need
about
it.
you? What do you? Yeah, you probably need it a little bit.
I'm 1-2 now, homeboy.
Who's your starts and sits? Cuz who you got as a start and sit right now, man? For our fantasy football people, man. Who do you like? Who do you not
Yeah.
like? Let me
Well,
know, bro.
you know me. I'm often matchup dependent when I'm picking
Yeah.
who's going to play well because we all know, it doesn't matter who your doesn't
Mhm.
matter who your main stud starters are. I mean, you can't not start them. So, I'm not the one to,
Okay.
sit here and tell you to play Jalen Hurts this weekend. He looks like a good start. No kidding, right? So
Yeah.
let me tell you, let me start with a sit for one. Although, hold on, let me finish my first thought. I am very biased toward matchups, right? So almost anybody in that Miami and Buffalo game is probably going to help you out, right? So your Gabriel Sterling guys, okay, this is your week to start Gabriel Sterling if you haven't already.
Mhm.
Chances are he's going to do very well.
Mhm.
James Cook, especially, right? He looks like he's on a roll. Right? Yeah, yeah. And over on the Miami side, of course, Tyreek Hill, Waddle's injured, so watch that on your. I don't think he's back yet, but I think Waddle's
No, no, I
he's out.
think
He's out
Waddle's
for a bit.
still out, but I'll check. I'll confirm.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm pretty sure he's
Mhm.
out for a bit still. So
Yeah, he's
if you
out for a
got
little bit.
Waddle on your roster, make sure you find somebody appropriate to replace him. But the one
Mhm,
guy
mhm.
who I would sit, and he was all hot all over the waiver wire this week, and that's the Achane. He is not going to get you 200 yards every week. Well, Mostert's running for
Oh
another
yeah,
250, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah, he had had like 30, 40 yards per game before that game. So understand that
Mm.
Denver is historically bad at playing defense, and that this was
Yes.
this was an outlier game of historic proportions. They came
Mm.
within 3 points of setting the NFL points record, but in all grace and humility, opted to kneel rather than kick that last field goal. Jeez. Yeah, so that was, but remember I said when we were talking about lines and whatnot last week, and I said that the Miami game, now that it was below 8.5 points, it's safe to bet on them, right? Win by 50. So once that line
Yeah.
came below 7 points down to 6.5, I'm like, yeah, for sure. Take Miami because Denver hasn't covered the spread there in their last 8 visits over the previous like 20 years or whatever, right? But
Mm.
I did not expect it to be any blowout like that. So that guy, Channy, is going to go back to being sort of a backup role. It's very doubtful he'll score, and he certainly won't be getting 200 yards a week. So cool your jets, all you guys who went out and grabbed that guy based on last week's performance,
Yeah.
and you should, and probably sit him. Most of it's going
Mm,
to go most of the carries. Most
yeah,
of the most.
Mostert is really
Yeah,
going run it.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I said, that was an anomaly, bro. Like, well, not an anomaly, but it's something you're not gonna see often, man. Because
A one-off.
you saw
Yeah,
one off. You're going
yeah,
to see Miami put up a lot of points, though. I wouldn't
yeah.
be surprised if they average like 30 points the whole season. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But you're
The
not gonna see a 70
yeah.
point explosion. I've never seen it in my life,
No,
bro. I'll be real.
the
I've never seen it.
the
But
over under for this week, I think it's 53 and a half points on that game. Is by far the largest over under for the week.
yeah.
Uh, and so, yeah, you're looking at a game that's probably going to be like 28-24 or something like that, if not higher. My guess is that both teams score close to 30. So
Oh
yeah,
yes.
it's going to be a very offensively minded game. And the weather's fantastic up in Buffalo, right? So it's going to be like it's going to be, well, not like a home game, but it's not. You're not going to have that sort of road advantage that Buffalo often has in November and December against a team like Miami.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
Yeah.
gorgeous sunny day in upstate New York, Western New York,
Mm.
and Miami's going to feel quite comfortable within it. And I expect that we'll see the best out of tags.
Mm.
Now, as long as as long as Buffalo can keep the turnovers down, they have a great chance to get a good, solid victory at home.
Yeah.
But it's only a 3-point game, 3.5 point game,
Yeah.
and I'm inclined to take Buffalo in that just because it's the home team, and
Okay. Okay.
Miami's probably due for a letdown after last week, and they've been firing
Yeah.
on all cylinders. And we'll have to find out. The biggest key here is going to be Tyreek Hill. How much
Yeah.
can he? How much can he get downfield on Buffalo? So we'll see about that. My guess is that he has a good day, but my guess is that Miami comes back down to earth this weekend.
There's also a scenario where it becomes a tight game. You know what I mean? Because having an this is the funny thing about football, man. You'll have a game where like the Chiefs had week one, where they're
Mhm.
really struggling to find our cylinders, and by week three they're exploding on a team for 43
Yeah.
some points, right? And then you'll have games that are supposed to be big offensive explosions, and it's basically like the Colts and the Ravens last week was
Yeah.
very contained, very big defensive battle. So that's what I'm saying. So as we look into next week, Unc, you mentioned, like you just said, Bills versus Dolphins. They got Bills -3. Over under 53.5. I think this is interesting. You just did an analysis. Is there any other games that you see any kind of spreads, any kind of matchups that pique your interest going into the week? I know that you give some good advice to the people, man. Maybe you have some lines that look interesting to you, man. You know what I mean?
That Atlanta game this weekend. I think they're playing Jacksonville, and
Atlanta
I.
versus Jacksonville.
All right, so
Check it out.
Jacksonville's going up to Atlanta,
Yes, sir.
right?
It's right here.
And now I still
Yes,
think
sir.
they have
Yes, sir.
Jacksonville favored by 3, or is it the other
Yep,
way
they're
around?
favored by 3. Yep.
Jacksonville is
They're favored by 3.
favored by 3 on the road in
And the money
Atlanta.
line is minus. Yeah, well,
And
yeah, and that's kind of weird. I'm kind of surprised by
yeah,
that.
the way Jacksonville has been playing, that doesn't make sense, right? And the way
No, not at
Atlanta's
all.
been playing, it doesn't make sense.
No,
So that
no.
that line got my attention right there. I'm pretty sure I would take Atlanta in that situation.
I would take Atlanta too. Bijan Robinson, whoever drafted him in fantasy, you're a genius. You made the right decision because he is. I think he's driving that offense, man.
Yeah,
Anytime you see Atlanta
their biggest
score
stuff.
or in its kind of scoring situation, it's usually Bijan who's right beside
Yeah.
that. But it's something interesting about this Falcons and Jags game. You talking about, think about Kyle Pitts. Where has he been? You know what I mean? Where's that been? There's actually been rumors that he might go to Dallas, but
Yep.
that offense relies on that run game. So if any, obviously you're starting Bijan Robinson if you have a brain in fantasy,
Hmm.
but that's something that's really interesting out there. That's
And
a
the, guy,
good,
and the
good
guy
look.
you're a
Good
little
look.
iffy on is Drake London. Everybody's expecting big things out of that guy this year, but he's been having a bit of
Yeah,
sophomore. He's been having a bit of a sophomore slump. He'll get it
yeah,
going eventually. I'm sure he's too good not to. But
yeah.
yeah, right now, yeah. But Bijan's like I don't think that game, unfortunately for me, is going to be a big game for fantasy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if it is a big game for fantasy, then Jacksonville probably wins, and and by more than 3 points.
Mm,
But the way they're playing right now, I don't really see it. I see this game being like 21-17 and not in Jacksonville's favor.
good point. Good point. A game that I would think would be interesting. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Well, we talked about these teams a little bit. How about this Niners versus Cardinals? Do you think it's going to be a big ass beatdown because they're giving the
Yeah,
Niners minus 17, minus 14. They're giving them two
yeah.
touchdowns. They're giving two goodies. I
Uh,
mean, I'm like,
You asked
damn.
me. You asked me about lines that caught my attention, and yes, I'd forgotten about that one.
Yeah.
The line I saw on Vegas Insider was, I think, 15 points or something like that, and that caught my attention.
Yeah.
You're right
Yeah.
about that.
14
Sorry, I
points.
missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the cards.
What,
Just I don't care.
that's what
I
I'm
don't care.
thinking. I'm thinking,
Yeah, I don't care who's at home or any of that crap. 15 points is
yeah.
too much to be favored by against this team the way they're playing the last 2 weeks, right? You want to tell me
Yes.
8 points, 7 points? Okay, all right. San Francisco pretty bad, but against the way the cards are opening
14
up,
points, man.
the way yeah,
Yeah.
the way the offensive line is opening up holes for James Conner, right? I just don't believe that
No.
anybody's 15 points better than them this week.
No, no, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
so.
just
We are
I'm
we're
not
we're
I'm
we're we're
not
on,
seeing.
we're bringing back Cardinals watch, man. Bird watch, you know what I'm saying? Watch these birds
Go bird
because they're
watching.
not 14 points. They're not 14 points underdog. Come on, dog. Like that's a
Yeah.
crazy line. But I will say this, the Niners are very good. Are they 14 points good? I don't know, man. Now you're
Well,
basically
yeah.
predicting a beatdown. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you haven't really seen them blow anybody really out of the water. I mean, you see them dominate, but I don't think they've scored more than
Yeah.
30 points yet this season. Right. So if they can't, they're not
No.
regularly scoring over 30 points. They're scoring about 30 points and they're keeping their opposition's points under about 15. So it looks really good. And that, leads you to believe that maybe that line's appropriate. And if this was the
Yeah.
first week of the season or even the second week of the season, you might say, well, not even the second week in the season. Second week into the season, the Cardinals kicked a whole bunch of butt. So
Yeah, they
yeah,
were
yeah,
looking good.
yeah. With this new look that the Cardinals are fronting, I don't see anybody better than them by 2 touchdowns at this point. San Francisco would have to show me something before something more for me to
Yeah.
throw down my money on that game. Yeah, I would take the Cards to cover that all day.
You know what? This is something that we didn't really discuss in the rundown or the prep, but well, look, another game that's just interesting to me is the Jets versus Chiefs. They have, they're giving it
Not me.
8.5 to the Chiefs, obviously, but
I
in
think the
my
Chiefs.
mind, go
I
ahead,
see.
go
I
ahead.
think the Chiefs win that game by 3 touchdowns probably.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They're gonna get blown out, bro. It's
And
gonna
I
be
don't
like
think
it's
they
gonna be
score that
ugly.
many points.
I'm not even, you know what I mean? I'm not even betting that game. I would have raised the line on that. But
this
something
game
I was thinking about.
this game
Yeah.
has 28-3 written all over it.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And no comeback from Brady. There's no Brady comeback.
Nah, nah. No. The way the Jets are playing right now, the way Zach Wilson is playing right now, I just don't. They might struggle. I mean, the defense might score a touchdown. Okay, maybe 28-10.
Yeah.
The defense might score a touchdown, but I don't see the New York offense scoring a touchdown. I really
That
don't.
that's definitely what I was getting to the point that I'm saying like the Jets legend Joe Namath actually went off on a radio interview or something like that saying that they need to get Zach Wilson out of there. This is something we didn't even have the script or the plan or anything like that, but I'm thinking, what do you think about the Jets? Because we talked about it the very first episode. We talked about the loss of Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson came in that role, and it looks like the Jets are just imploding, fam. Like
Yeah,
locker room issues. They did get this, they got Trevor Simeon, like a veteran, a random guy to come in, probably take Zach Wilson's job or whatever. But what do you think about the
Simeon's
Jets? They
no
were
good.
so promissing, man. So promising. What are your
Simeon,
thoughts about this whole Zach Wilson shit, man? Talk to the people, man.
Simeon is just another version of Zach Wilson. Are you kidding me? What do I think? I think the quarterback's in a very important position. Nothing validates that argument more than the 2023 version of the New York Jets. Post Aaron Rodgers. No, I'm sorry. If you do not have someone accurate and a leader under center, Garrett Wilson can't help you.
That's what I'm saying. And you see them fighting on the sidelines, you see all type of ish going on. And I'm
Yeah,
like, God damn, it's already imploding. And I had so much hope because that
yeah.
Jets defense is for real. You have
Everybody
so
did.
much talent there, it's for real. You have Brees Hall,
Everybody did.
you
But
have guys, you know what I mean?
quarterback is an important position.
Yeah.
It really is.
Damn. And then you look at the other end where, just see, we're talking about quarterback, something that just came to mind to me. You're looking at an individual like Russell Wilson, right? Being on
Mhm.
that terrible Broncos team. And I look at it as the Broncos defense is the issue. This is the
Yeah,
story that we're not paying attention to. The defense is the problem.
yeah.
Because if you look at the offense, they're actually looking pretty good. They're looking better than last year. They're
Well,
putting up
yeah,
more points than last year.
well, they are, and that's what I was
Yeah.
saying in our earlier segment when we were talking about that game. I was
Yeah.
saying that Russell Wilson had very similar numbers to Tags, and their
Mhm.
offense scored 20 points. Like I said, they may not have won with that figure, but they would have been competitive if their defense had shown up. So yeah, people are already calling for was it Nathaniel Hackett or whoever it is, their defensive coordinator in Denver.
It's Vance Joseph. He
Vince,
actually, ironically, he used to be the coach of the
Hackett was the previous head coach, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he was like one of the coaches before. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird.
Anyways, that defensive coordinator is awful, and people are
Very
already
bad.
calling for his head and all that type of thing. And
I'm
and
surprised he's not fired, dog. I'm
like
surprised he's not gone.
It's Sean Payton. You think the guy would have been shown like the door on Monday morning after that loss? Like Sean Payton is a renowned disciplinarian. I am shocked that guy had a job Monday morning. I'm shocked he had a job. I'm
Mm.
shocked he still had a job Sunday evening.
We
Yeah,
need we
for
need
real.
let me tell you something, man. In life, we need to have consequences, okay? Like, let me tell you something, man. I don't know, I feel old school, but we need to bring back real punishment to people, okay? We need to have some smacks on some ass or something like that for terrible performances and terrible actions. Think about the Chargers, right? The Chargers last
Think
week
about
versus
Brett
the
Favre.
Vikings. Yeah, man. It's like Brett Favre.
Thought for sure
He's
that
still
guy would
playing.
have got indicted. Anyways, different
This man
topic.
should be in jail. This man should be in jail. But you know what? Brandon Staley should have been fired for what he did last week. And this is like a little bit off topic. We're going overtime because we love y'all. We love our audience. Make sure to like the video. Thank you so much for spending y'all time with us here with Unc and Phew. When Brandon Staley, at his own, I think it was 28-yard line, when he decided to go for it on fourth down in his
Mm,
own 28-yard line, this idiot could have punted the ball and essentially
yeah,
ended the game. He decided to go for it again on fourth down. They didn't get it. Minnesota Vikings got the ball back with let's say, about a minute left in the game. Try to go for a game-winning touchdown. Of course, it ends in an interception because Kirk Cousins is a joke. He's a
he's
fluke. But Brandon Staley, the coach of the Chargers, how
mm-hmm.
many close games does this man have to lose? How many embarrassing losses does he have to lose before he gets fired? You have guys like Brian Flores, who's actually a good coach, who's now just a coordinator. You have guys out there who deserve coaching jobs. And these idiots like Brandon Staley for the Chargers are out here coaching football games. Unc,
Yeah.
how do you feel about some of these suspect coaches who are leading teams, man? It is so I get mad. I get frustrated, man. I get mad, man.
Well, I tell you,
How do you
my
feel about some of these coaches, man?
my biggest issue for vexation with that coach and that particular play and whatnot is that he put the point spread, which I had called correctly, in danger. So of course that's my biggest issue, right?
Oh,
How does this affect me?
fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. Well, see, for me, when I look at any Chargers franchise that is somehow
Yeah.
fluke, with a lot of fluke and a lot of luck, winning a lot of 28, 24 games and shootouts, I just consider that to be par for the course. It's the Chargers. So, but I was raised in the '70s, so right, Air Coryell.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To me, that franchise will never get it right completely. I don't know why. So, anyways, yeah, I don't really have much to say on that. Poor coaching decisions happen all weekend, all season long. I don't know
Yeah.
why he would choose to ever go for it on fourth down if you're not at least over the 50-yard line. I mean, come on.
And you know what? They remember that that 28-point disaster versus the Jags last year in the playoffs where they crumbled and they had a chance to run the ball and end the game. They made the Jags amazingly made a 28-point comeback. But before we go, what do you think about something that I was just thinking about? What do you think about the MVP? It's kind of early to really talk about it. Obviously we
Yeah,
have
it is.
five teams that are great. We have obviously Miami. We have the Chiefs. I personally believe Dallas is still good even after their loss. I like Cleveland. But what do you think about? It's really early for the MVP race.
It
Who do
really
you
is.
like in the MVP talks? Or we talked about
Well,
Tyreek Hill the first week, but who do you like, man?
Well,
Mhm.
it's hard not to look in Miami's direction at an MVP right now because he usually always goes to a quarterback and a highly performing quarterback.
Yeah,
And we talked about a scenario whereby Mahomes ends up having to do everything in KC this year and walks away with the award. And well, that's clearly not happening. KC's putting in a solid team effort, right out of the gate. So
yeah,
Mahomes does not have to play Superman. So
mhm,
that kind of like puts tags in the spotlight right now as a quarterback on the most dynamic and most offensively prolific team in the NFL right now.
yeah,
So you kind of have to look at his direction. The only thing he would need to solidify all that, of course, is a division championship followed by a conference championship and a Super Bowl ring, right?
yes, sir, yes, sir.
So yeah, because his other competition for MVP, i.e., his fellow quarterbacks, where the usual suspects are not really having a great time in the league right now, right?
No,
Burrow,
no.
Burrows doesn't look good.
Mm.
Rogers is in a hospital bed. Lamar is, fighting alligators left and right. Um,
Yeah,
you know, right? So, you
fighting
know,
for his life.
yeah, I had Trevor Lawrence has stumbled coming out of the gate,
Yeah.
right? He was an early dark horse kind of candidate, the year of the Lawrence. Hasn't shown up yet. So
Mm.
right now, Jags, I'm
Oh,
sure that will change at some point in the future. But as of right now, going into week 4, Tags looks like your MVP for sure.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that, as the season goes along, we'll bring up this topic more and more. What I mean, we went a little overtime. Shouts out to everybody who's checking out the podcast. If you're hearing the replay, I want y'all to slap a like on the podcast. Consider
Please,
donating if you want. Let's grow this channel. Let's grow this work.
yeah.
Unc, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it. And appreciate y'all for listening in. This has been Unc and Phew, season 2. And we out on one,
All right.
two,
One
three.
love, brother.
Doses. One time,
All
family. Doses.